Ram, welcome to Hard Talk.
It's a pleasure, Stephen.
Well, it's a great pleasure to talk to you. Your journalistic career seems to me to symbolize the vigor, the vibrancy of the Indian media scene. You began your career, let's say, in the late 60s. You're still hard at it today at the Hindu Publishing Group. It's a positive story, isn't it?
Yes, I'm privileged, and I feel very, very good about being in journalism so long, although the world around us just changed. The media ecosystem has changed. There's a lot of disruption, but I'm still at it. I don't do active journalism in the newspaper. I don't get involved in the editorial decision making, but I'm a director on the board of the publishing company, the Hindu Publishing Company, and the holding company as well. So, and I'm witness to the flourishing of the press in India, and then the problems it has got into later, and it's still challenging and quite exciting.
You talk about the problems that the media has encountered. Let's try to be very specific. There are allegations, some of them coming from outside India, some coming from inside India, that under Prime Minister Modi, freedom of speech, but in particular the freedom of the press, has been savagely curtailed. How do you see it?
Yes, that has happened. Not that there were no attempts to suppress press freedom and independence before. We had the emergency of 75-77. We've had laws inherited from colonial times which are quite illiberal. Very often we got by because they were not implemented. For example, the Sedition Act or the Official Secrets Act, so it goes back, which could be quite draconian, but they were not implemented earlier. But under Prime Minister Modi, specifically from 2014 when he won an election, his party won big with a majority, there's been incremental authoritarianism vis-a-vis the press, attempts to curb, to restrain, to make them fall in line.
But if they are seriously attempting to curb, restrain, then how come the Indian media scene is still so pluralistic, so diverse? And as Prime Minister Modi himself points out, we have tens of thousands of registered publications, we have hundreds of broadcast news channels, and he says a democracy like India is only able to move ahead because there is this very vibrant feedback mechanism. I mean, that's a pretty strong defense.
Yes, it is true that there's a lot of diversity and pluralism in the Indian media ecosystem, and that reflects the diversities and pluralism of India. We are multilingual, we are multi-ethnic, we are multi-religious, we are multi-political, multicultural, multi-everything. And that's bound to get reflected and expressed in the way the media perform. And we don't know enough about all that's being put out in different parts of India. But overall, they have a strategy to make the media fall in line. And I can't do better than to recommend, if somebody wants to look at it, to get an overview and an update. There's excellent chapter in Rajiv Sardesai's book, 2024, the election that surprised India, chapter 14, on the Gaudiya media. You are the Gaudiya media, it says.
Gaudiya media is a phrase which essentially means lapdog media.
Yes, it is. Gaudiya is lap in Hindi, and it means lapdog. You're a lapdog of the central government and the BJP governments in different parts of India. That's the idea.
The word lapdog, I suppose, is trying to capture the sense in which associates, friends, political allies of Mr. Modi now seem to dominate ownership of key mainstream media organizations, particularly in broadcast, in television. But I would put it to you that is the case in many democracies, that ownership of key media institutions is in the hands of people who happen to be close to those who are in power. It's not just India.
Yes, the Mukesh Ambani, the group owns a lot of channels, TV18, and then Gautam Adani, they took over NDTV, which was the one independent TV channel in the English language and also in Hindi with Ravish Kumar that people were watching as an alternative to all the propaganda out there. And that has taken over in a very brutal fashion.
But in a private marketplace, these things happen.
Yes.
Rupert Murdoch, Elon Musk. One can look at some of the richest men in the world who exercise influence and power through the media. This isn't necessarily a case in which India is suffering a form of media constraint or repression, which is fundamentally different.
Yes, I'm not particularly complaining about television because it's gone. And they were always subject to pressure, news television. There were some exceptions. There are still some exceptions in the Indian languages. In Tamil Nadu, for example, where I come from, there are some perfectly credible television news channels. And maybe in West Bengal and other places as well. We don't know enough about it. But when it comes to the so-called national, the All India channels, meaning they come out in English, or they're large groups, there is a monopolization, and I'm not particularly complaining. Yes, it's there everywhere. It's the media monopoly. Ben Bagdikian wrote about it a long time ago in the U.S., and as you mentioned, who's the U.S. to lecture us on media freedom and independence?
Let's talk about the mindset of journalists today and the degree to which there is now a fear in some journalists' minds about speaking truth to power, confronting power in different forms in India. A while ago on Hard Talk, I spoke to Rana Ayub,
yes.
A young woman journalist in this country who, going back years, has tried to tell stories, uncover truths about Mr. Modi's past in Gujarat, amongst many other things. She is currently facing a series of court challenges. She has faced online intimidation, including use of fake pornography and other things. She says that, quote, journalism in India is under assault.